Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I never really like to play a whole lot of videos in my videos. But Brad Garlinghouse had a lot of talking points in these clips from earlier today. And a lot of what he says backs up what I've been saying for the last 2.5 years. A lot of what he's telling you is the same thing I've been telling you. You know, you can't be fighting the banks. You got to work with the banks. He's talking about utility in this clip. Digital asset investor says, no utility, no value. Unpopular opinion. Forkcoin is not going to get you to the promised land, folks. Don't chase green candles. And take a listen to what Brad says here about utility.
I think we probably all agree that right now there's a lot of speculation in the market and some utility, some other pieces. But you know, Ripple has always tried to focus on, okay, we're solving problems for customers. We're not trying to lean into meme coins, for example. You know, you can use the XRP ledger as open source technology to do meme coins if you would choose to do so. And frankly, there are examples of that happening on the XRP ledger because it's open source technology. Ripple, and like, how do we build trust is how do we make sure that, you know, our customers understand, you know, where the kind of products we're bringing to market and that they work well and they're adding value. And yeah, I feel very good. It's been a long journey. In some ways, ironically, maybe the SEC lawsuit against Ripple added trust to some degree, you know, because we prevailed, well, because we fought the fight and, you know, prevailed on the kind of the key points that mattered. I think a lot of people, it built trust as well. And so I do feel good about, you know, how Ripple has emerged from some of this. But I also would say, to my earlier point, I think we're still in the early days.
When Brad says we're still in the early days, that tells you you are not too late to XRP. We have a long way to go still. But take notice, he said that going through the Rippleverse SEC case and winning, it shows more trust for Ripple going forward. They're going to sign on more banks. They're going to sign on a lot of institutions because they went through that case. There's not going to be a chance of the SEC coming back and suing Ripple again. And a lot of people even said in the past that it was like Ripple had to be vetted through the SEC so that XRP could be utilized in the new financial system, utilized here in the United States. And I would agree with that. I always thought the Rippleverse SEC case had to happen for a reason. But you know, you can bring meme coins to the XRP ledger because it's open source. And this is the type of utility you want to see happening. Ripple, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and Hex Trust to explore different innovative use cases for new forms of digital money. Ripple was involved in the HKD pilot program in cooperation with Hex Trust, Fubon Bank, and the HKMA, exploring home equity lending and settlement with CBDCs. You want to see this happening because this is where XRP will be utilized in the future. It's going to be locked away in liquidity pools in these countries. And I want to point something out. So you see 140 organizations involved, Hong Kong Monetary Authority and the BIS. Wherever the BIS goes, Ripple seems to go. Wherever the BIS is mentioned, Ripple is mentioned. And even the projects that the BIS is building out all include that RippleNet technology. National Bank of Cambodia has introduced new regulations effective immediately on crypto asset transactions, Travelex and Ripple. Commercial banks may engage with Group 1 crypto assets if authorized by the MBC, but it must adhere to strict governance and risk management requirements. Group 2 includes unbacked crypto assets or those lacking sufficient stabilization or backing. Issuing crypto assets or engaging with Group 2 crypto assets is strictly prohibited. Crypto asset service providers must obtain licenses from the MBC to offer services such as exchange, transfer, custody, or safekeeping of crypto assets. Group 1 includes tokenized traditional assets, such as bonds and equities and stablecoins. You know, we are seeing the early signs of crypto regulations in a lot of countries. This is going to expand out and grow all throughout 2025. We are on the verge of global crypto regulations. And once again, Cambodia and Ripple, SBI, LY Our Bank, and again, I'm going to point out on this list, National Bank of Cambodia and the BIS. Wherever the BIS goes, Ripple goes. And you also see the World Economic Forum listed there. Because you are invested in what the elites see as the future. You are going to get very rich if you hold XRP long enough. This comes from Mr. Man. Breaking, AstroPay unveils multi-currency wallet. Who do you think facilitates the multi-currency ability? AstroPay had partnered with Ripple in 2014. This is why old news is relevant news. You know, things that happened a decade ago, you're starting to see where it was leading now in 2025. You're starting to see the end of what was building out over the last 10 years. And over the last 10 years, Ripple has had non-stop growth, putting rail after rail in place all around the world. Ripple is a global company at this point. XRP, when it goes live on all of these rails, you're either holding XRP or you are left behind. Brad Garlinghouse on the Achilles heel of Bitcoin, the anti-bank and anti-government approach. Take a listen to what he says here.
I frankly, I always worried that the Achilles heel of Bitcoin might be this kind of anti-bank, anti-government sentiment. And, it just, to me, it limited the market opportunity if you're going to take that approach, because I feel like governments aren't going to go away, banks aren't going to go away, in my opinion. So years later, a recruiter actually called me and introduced me to Ripple. And what resonated with me right out of the gates was this idea of how do we work with the legacy infrastructure, what we now would call TradFi. And, that included government and certainly banks. And it resonated with me that Ripple was trying to work with the system rather than create a fully new system. There's obviously, arguments on both sides of that. I can see those arguments, but
and that's what happened with Bitcoin. Even when you talk to the Bitcoin maxis, right away, they always tell you, invest in the freedom coin. You want to break away from the US dollar, invest in Bitcoin. They're always putting Bitcoin like against the US dollar. And that's not the approach to take when you want something to be adopted. That's why we're going to see mass adoption for XRP, and you're going to see Bitcoin become irrelevant over time. What Brad wants to do is fix the broken banking system. That's what Ripple planned to do all along. Some people would say we already have a bunch of big winners, Bitcoin or ETH, but we really are not only going to have the winners once you really have the scaled utility. Take a listen to what Brad says here.
So I think we're early in that journey. I think there's going to be, a bunch of significant winners. I mean, some people would say, well, you already have a bunch of big winners. Bitcoin's at 1.8 trillion. ETH is 400 to 500 billion. But we really are only going to have the winners once you really have the scaled utility, the scaled use cases that are solving real problems for customers.
Like I've been saying all along, right now, Bitcoin is nothing more than a distraction. Everybody always points out the price of Bitcoin. Look, it's at $100,000. But when you step back and you look at the big picture, Bitcoin really doesn't have a future. Because everything going forward, if your cryptocurrency is not solving a problem in the real world, it's going to become irrelevant over time. Brad says we're still early, and we are. We're still waiting for the institutions to get into this space. Once that happens, we get that institutional adoption, which will lead to mass adoption. They're still trying to get Bitcoin adopted throughout the world as far as being used for actual transactions. How the hell are you going to transact? Say you walk into Starbucks and you want to buy a coffee in the morning and you're waiting for that Bitcoin transaction to go through while you're holding up the line and it's taking 20 minutes to happen. And that transaction cost you more than the coffee you're buying with your Bitcoin. You're never going to get adoption of something like that. And this interview was with Citizens JMP Bank that Brad was doing earlier today. We're witnessing that crossing the chasm moment towards greater integration of digital assets into the mainstream financial ecosystem. Here's where we are right now. We were the visionaries, the early adopters, the early investors. We had vision enough to see where this was going a long time ago. What we're going to see next is early majority, institutions, banks coming into this space. Then you're going to have the late majority. That's going to be the institutions that hold out until the last minute, or they have the possibility of being left behind by other institutions, or banks that are going to be left behind by other banks that adopted crypto and adopted blockchain into the system. Then you're going to have the laggards. That's the people that you talk to about XRP that never wanted to hear about it. And at that point, when we get to the skeptics point on this chart, XRP is already going to be a 4 to 5 digit asset because most of the adoption will have already taken place. But, even after you have all of the adoption that could possibly happen, value changes year over year. Value tends to rise year over year. So even when you think XRP has reached its top, the next year you're going to see even more value flow into this cryptocurrency. You're not too late yet. Get on board before you're left behind. Now is the 4th year of operation. The Digital Pound Foundation is excited to be entering 2025. They plan to push things ahead even faster now. But again, Ripple is part of the Innovate Finance at the Digital Pound Foundation. But look at who is next to Ripple, Quant. And let me tell you something, QNT is an absolute must-have in your portfolio. I tell everyone, hold at least one QNT. Would you ask yourself this, would you buy Bitcoin at $100? And if you answer yes to that, you should be buying QNT at $100 because there's less QNT than there is Bitcoin. QNT is utilized when anybody wants to use the Quant network. I see QNT as my Bitcoin. I think it's a 6-digit cryptocurrency, and it is going to gain a lot of momentum throughout 2025. It is still very undervalued at $100. I was telling people to buy QNT when it was under $50. Nobody wanted to hear it. It was an overpriced cryptocurrency and nobody wanted it. Then it ran up to $100 and right away people said, I have to get some QNT. Wait until it's above $500 and then above $1,000. QNT is a great cryptocurrency. It's the Microsoft of blockchain. It's going to be the glue holding the entire financial system together. And seeing Ripple there with Quant, you could tell XRP and QNT are going to be running side by side in the new financial system. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.